from our Universal Radio studios. Celebrities from TV, music, movies, literature, politics, and show business. At one time or another, they all come to the Ron Sedgy Show. So why don't you?
You can try fighting the law all you want, but the law is always going to win. From politicians and celebrities to sports figures and business leaders, they're fighting the law. Now, here to sort out the nation's top legal news stories is America's favorite legal analyst, Royal Oakes. This is the Royal Oakes Show.
Robbing people with a 6-gun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Thank you, Mike Horn, and welcome to the Royal Oakes Show. And welcome to our co-host, Ken Jeffries. How you doing, Ken?
I'm doing good, but quite a week. As we always say now in the news.
I was glued to the Michael Cohen hearing. We're going to get into that. That alone made it quite a week. Our millennial correspondent, Connor Oakes, is on special assignment.
He's MIA again.
Yeah, so we'll welcome him back.
Maybe he went to
week.
North Korea to try to get a deal out of Kim Jong-un.
Couldn't do any worse, right? Dennis Rodman couldn't do any worse. I mean, all of that build-up, and basically we got nothing out of it, right?
Well, nothing for now. I mean, I think Trump was criticized for they didn't lay the groundwork for this, and it's he went and got a big Zippo.
You're right. Since you're a big pro-Trump guy, let's be a glasses half full person. Okay, the glasses half full view is another week, and we didn't get bombed with a North Korean nuclear weapon, so that's good. And I suppose they aren't being quite as aggressive as they used to be in terms of building up their facilities and so on. So that's good. And the fact that they can sit down, to Trump and Kim, and smile at each other and pretend to like each other, I guess that's good. But the bottom line is that to the extent all that happened is that without any background work by the diplomats, instead the two guys showed up, and Kim's position was, well, I want you to get rid of all the sanctions, and I'm going to give you a little smidgen of relief, and then we'll talk further. But all the sanctions gone, I'll give you half of a nuclear reactor out in the back 40. I'll shut that one down. And Trump said, no, I'm giving you everything, and you're giving me very little, so there's no deal. And then Trump pulled one of his special walkaways. Right?
I guess it's like maybe he thought it was like buying a car. You know, you go buy a car, then you pretend to walk away from the dealer. You're upset about the price.
Or maybe it isn't just pretend. Maybe you really do walk away, because when you're buying a car, you're in a nice position. You can go, the Brand Boulevard of cars. You can buy from 10 different...
Brand Boulevard, yeah.
You can go to 10 different dealers. So you really do have the bargaining power. Now, here... it's not like there are 8 other North Koreas that Trump can go to and make a deal with them. There's only one. But I think, he's smart in the sense that, he's a very good negotiator. He's been very successful at that. So he's smart to be able to walk away as opposed to making a bad deal. And some people were actually making an analogy to what Reagan did with Gorbachev at Reykjavik. Because as I recall, the ancient history of that deal.
Reagan walk away?
Yeah, so here's what happened. Gorbachev shows up, and he has left the Kremlin, and all the boys in the Kremlin have said to him, Mikhail, you come back with one thing. There's only one thing to do, and that's stop the damn Star Wars. We are freaking out because we know that if Ronald Reagan is actually telling the truth and he's got a Star Wars shield that's going to go up, the minute he puts the shield up so that we can't penetrate and kill him, he'll kill us. Because they assumed Reagan was like them. Of course, Reagan wasn't. Reagan would never launch weapons and kill Russia, but they thought he would because they knew they would kill us if they had a shield.
So the whole Star Wars was a sham?
Well, yeah, it was a sham. He had some scientists that said, well, Mr. President, if you pay me $50 or $60 million, I'll consult real hard, and I think I can make some progress. Most scientists said, are you kidding me? It is pure science fiction. This is Buck Rogers time. All right, so Gorbachev shows up with one order from the boys in the Kremlin, and that is get him to stop the damn Star Wars and give him everything else. You'll reduce this, you'll reduce that, you'll toss out all of our nuclear weapon programs, and Reagan refused. his advisors, George Shultz, the Secretary of State, said, Mr. President, this is good. You're getting a lot of stuff here. The Star Wars thing is kind of silly anyway, so let's give up on the Star Wars. And it was even a compromise. He didn't have to say absolutely no Star Wars forever. All Gorbachev insisted on was no Star Wars testing in the atmosphere. You can do it in the lab all you want. But the boys back in the Kremlin told him what's really bad is if you allow them to test up there, they might actually get it. And so that was what they wanted. And Reagan ended up saying no, and they were very glum, and they shook hands and all, unlike Kim and Trump. Right. But the bottom line is there was no deal, and Reagan was criticized. But then a few years later, guess what? The Soviet Union spent themselves like crazy into bankruptcy, and they were dead, and the Cold War was over, and we won because Ronald Reagan held fast. So, I'm not saying that this is a great win for Trump like it was for Ronald Reagan.
The Cold War may be back. We don't know that. I mean, with Putin, maybe it's too early to say, but I don't know.
The other thing about Trump that struck me, and I don't know if this was your impression as well, Ken, but isn't it a little offensive the way he kisses up to this bastard, Kim, this guy who is a murderous tyrant whose subjects are a full foot shorter and 50 pounds lighter than their pals in South Korea, the same exact DNA stock?
I think he threw Otto Wambler's, how do you pronounce his last name? He deserved to have his last name
I've forgotten how to pronounce his name,
But he threw, I think he threw the family under the bus.
Under the bus, absolutely. And why did he do it? Because he thought he was selling a condo. All Trump is about is selling condos in Trump Tower, or selling a Mar-a-Lago membership, or selling a building in Manhattan. All he knows how to do is butter people up and then turn the screws at the right time and walk away at the right time. But basically, he butters people up because he wants them to buy the condo unit in Trump Tower. And that's what he's doing to Kim.
And he likes to be buttered up himself.
Absolutely. Oh, he loves it. He's pathological. Right. It's a form of his narcissism that is just off the charts. But it's just so weird and really reprehensible that Donald Trump will look at this monster and say, oh, we wrote letters to each other. We fell in love. He literally used the words fell in love. Yep. Now, I guess it's some sort of metaphorical thing. It's not like they're going to the prom together. But those were the words he used as part of his please buy my condo thing. And that's not, there's more to life as a president negotiating foreign policy than selling a condo.
I seriously think he wants to put up condos in Pyongyang. I mean, beachfront property. What did he keep talking about?
Right.
Beachfront property.
He kept talking about them being an economic power and so on. Anyway, so so much for the effort this week. But as I say, at least we didn't get blown up this week. But what happened this week, the big story, was the Michael Cohen testimony. And, of course, the Republicans had fun with some delicious irony. Here's a guy who's going to prison for 3 years, and he is going to prison for lying to Congress. And here he's the star of the show. He's in front of Congress testifying. Now, doesn't mean that what he has to say now is necessarily false, but without corroboration, like some key documents he can point to or some witnesses he can dig up, why would anybody really believe that?
Well, he had the checks. He had the checks to Stormy. Was it 2 checks to Stormy Daniels?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Allegedly, or whatever it is now. I don't even know. And I think next week, is it next week? Alan, what's his name? Alan Weisselberg. I think his name is
Chief Financial Officer of the Trump Empire.
I think maybe hauled in to testify, and I think there's an immunity deal for him. There was already one in place. Am I wrong with that? Do you know?
I think you're right. I think there was an immunity deal for him. I think there was a deal for David Pecker of the National Enquirer enterprise. But the interesting thing about what Michael Cohen said was, he hinted strongly that there are more investigations being done by the Southern District of New York.
Right.
And that might have been the big takeaway from the week, because other than the Stormy Daniels stuff, it could be a little worse for Trump. But for him to say, I can't talk about that, Madam Representative, because the Southern District of New York prosecutors told me that's a subject I got to talk to them about privately.
Here are 2 things. Number one, can the Southern District go after Trump while he's president and indict him in Israel? And of course, Israeli law is a lot different, but the Israeli authorities already announced they would indict Benjamin Netanyahu.
Right.
Now, I know that's Israel and this is the United States. The laws may be different, but I don't think there's no law against indicting a sitting U.S. president. But there was a Justice Department memo to this effect years ago with Nixon going all the way back. And the other thing was, what did you think of AOC? what's her name? Court,
we just call her AOC.
AOC,
socialist gal.
She questioned Michael Cohen on the value of Trump's golf courses in New York and in the New York area.
Oh, I missed that. That's interesting.
Yeah, and whether or not, and his properties, and whether or not he deliberately devalued them, I guess to lower his taxes and all of that stuff. Now, I think she did a surgical job, and I think, quite frankly, she did a good job talking about that, and she didn't pontificate.
Right.
She didn't get into anything else. Asked him specifically about that, and some analysts were saying that is laying the groundwork now for the Democrats to go after Trump's taxes.
Yeah, I think that is a possibility. The first question you asked about the indicting a president for a crime, I think you had it right. The Department of Justice some years ago issued an opinion that has been reinforced and supported over the years, and the opinion was that we don't think we can indict a sitting president. Now, it's not in the Constitution one way or the other. The fact that the Constitution does say you may impeach somebody for high crimes and misdemeanors if they're a president, I think has led most scholars and experts to say it would just be a bridge too far to try to prosecute a sitting president. If you got the goods on him, then impeach him. But of course, if you don't impeach him and then he leaves office, just as Nixon did with a cloud over him, then you could indict him, except Ford was able to pardon him. So yeah, I think he's safe from prosecution.
Well, except that Southern District, would they prosecute him once he leaves office, and could be another, X number, but 6 years, whatever it is,
right,
assuming he wins in 2020, that they could are those state charges that they could get him for instead of federal?
Right. Well, any charges, whether it's state or federal, would have to be put on hold until he leaves, assuming this Department of Justice opinion prevails. The issue of a pardon, presidential pardons, only apply to federal.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
So he couldn't pardon himself, even if he did try to pardon himself. That would be bad.
He
PR.
actually did, I think, bring that up in a tweet or something.
Oh, did he?
I thought he did. Can I pardon myself? Question mark.
I think there was a reference to it. One good thing for Trump in the Michael Cohen hearing was that Cohen said, well, no, he never told me to lie under oath. He never told me to lie to Congress. And some people had suggested that maybe he had done that. Also, he said, this rumor about there being an elevator tape of Trump hitting his wife, Melania. I don't know if you'd heard about that rumor. But Tom Arnold, Roseanne's ex.
You know what? I heard you mention that on KABC the other day, too. I caught the tail end of that. And I forgot. I was dimly aware of whatever Tom Arnold was talking about.
Well, Cohen said he doesn't know anything about it. So bottom line is that Cohen...
Did he mention a PP tape?
No, didn't say anything about that. But Cohen says he's going to go.
And he denied collusion, right? Didn't he deny Russia collusion? And Trump brought that up during that Hanoi late-night news conference before he left. One thing he said, there was no Russia collusion, and that's the one true thing that he said, according to Trump.
And what basically that helps Trump, I think, a lot in the sense that here's the guy who, if anybody would be involved in the collusive activity, you'd think it would be Michael Cohen, because he was his fixer and his right-hand man for a decade. One thing that bothered me, and I don't know if it annoyed you at all, but Lanny Davis really gets under my skin in this situation. He's sitting there quietly over the right shoulder of Michael Cohen throughout the testimony because he's the lawyer. And I'm fine with Lanny Davis being a lawyer and representing Michael Cohen if Cohen wants him to be his lawyer, in the sense that he has a right to do it. But I really wonder if Lanny Davis is doing his job as a lawyer, because let's face it, he has one objective here, and that's regime change. He wants to get rid of Donald Trump. He is Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton's lawyer and apologist.
Yeah, that's I don't know what's behind that. It doesn't. The optics aren't good.
And I'm sure I'm sure that he's doing it for free. I'm sure he presented himself and said, "Look, I can help you maneuver through these dangerous
shows." Pro bono, as you lawyers say.
Yes, I think. I don't think that Cohen has money lying around to pay this guy. But the bottom line is that he is a puppet master pulling the strings. And you could say, well, it helps Cohen because the harder he is on Trump, the less time he might do. But what about the truth?
I don't think that can be the time can be negotiated.
Yeah, it can. The 3 years could go down even lower. But this guy, Lanny Davis, is a Trump hater, and he is advising Cohen to say things that will maybe bring Trump down. For example, Davis obviously wrote a little speech that Trump read at the end of the day when he testified, and the speech essentially said, Trump shouldn't have shut down the government, and I think there might be a civil war if Trump loses in 2020. He won't leave peacefully. Right. That's Lanny Davis talking, not Michael Cohen. When we come back, Joe Biden for president. You can bet on it.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Were you scammed into signing a timeshare contract? And did you miss the part that said you have to pay for your great idea? Not only for the rest of your life, but when you're not here anymore, you get to pass this turkey onto your family for them to pay for the rest of their lives. Thanks, Dad. Don't burden your family down the road, and don't be stuck with expensive timeshare payments forever. Get out of your bad idea timeshare contract guaranteed, or pay nothing. Call Resort Release today and learn for free how their timeshare exit team can help you legally exit your timeshare contract. They've helped thousands of people, and they're A+ rated with a BBB. So if you feel scammed, get mad and get out of your expensive timeshare contract right now, guaranteed. Call NOW.
800-716-9903. 800-716-9903. 800-716-9903. That's 800-716-9903.
Hi, everybody. Michael Horn from CRNTalk.com. You know, we provide you with the best in talk radio. 8 channels of talk radio, from radio on the left, radio on the right, sports talk, business talk, religious talk, Spanish talk, you name it, we've got talk radio for you. All at CRNTalk.com. Well, now we'll bring you video as well as audio. That's right. Watch your favorite shows like The Robert Conrad Show, The Fred Dreyer Program, What's Cooking Today, What's Cooking on Wine, The Lounge, and so many other shows in video right at our website, CRNTalk.com. You can also watch us on Roku. Just search CRN Talk, and you can watch us on Roku on any TV anywhere in the world. Also on Facebook Live. Go to Facebook.com/CRN Digital Talk. Facebook.com/CRN Digital Talk. Roku, search CRN Talk. Check us out on Tiki Live and at CRNTalk.com. Video for you talk fans, all from CRN Talk.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries. Our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes is on special assignment. He's just off this week.
He's always on special assignment. What is it?
It sounds so much more important to say he's on special
CIA.
assignment. Well, he was here last week, Ken, and I have to say that was a lot of fun. Our anniversary show. If you
it was
missed
great,
it, folks.
I wonder if he still has that bow tie that he put together.
I think he does. It's paper, so it may have melted in the rain. But we had our 75th anniversary show last week, so check it out on CRN.
75 shows, not years.
Yeah,
although
years.
Sometimes it felt like. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, at times. So, okay, we're going to get back to the lineup of top stories here, but we love to talk about really stupid people in our Moron of the Week feature.
We haven't done that in a while.
I know. Well, we're getting back to it right now, and the first one, it's actually a theme show. It's kind of like Merv Griffin's old theme shows.
Ooh.
It's a guy with a gun, and an animal is involved in each of our stupid scenarios. So here's number one, and we'll give you the second one at the end of the show, and we'll vote on who the stupidest person was of them all. So the first one actually comes out of Berlin, Germany, and a German court has ruled that a dog owner is not fit to carry a firearms license after his own dog shot him with a rifle. There's a Munich court.
That gives me pause, by the way.
Ooh, I like that.
Pause.
It's rough. This
it's a little
Munich
rough, yeah.
court dismissed the man's appeal against an earlier decision by Bavarian authorities to withdraw his license to own a rifle and his hunting permit. So what happened was there was a 2016 incident where the man was a passionate hunter. Sounds like Dick Cheney. He was pretty passionate when he shot that guy in the face. He was shot in the arm after his dog managed to release the trigger on a loaded rifle that was lying in his car. The court ruled the hunter couldn't be relied upon because it must be assumed that he will handle firearms and ammunition carelessly in the future as well. What a smart dog to be able to realize, hey, if I take my little paw and my little claw here and I just get that, but it was very unfortunate. He survived. Kind of stupid. At the end of the show, we'll get our second moron of the week. So I want to talk about Joe Biden because he's really kind of inching his way to put his toe in the water. He's in hot water. We'll talk about how he's in trouble for a comment about the vice president being a decent guy. But he's leaning toward a run. According to all the reports, his family is okay with it. And, given the family situation with his son dying and everything was so traumatic, and, that was happening at the time when he had to decide a few years ago.
Well, of course, and years before that, his wife died. Remember that? His wife and
horrible
daughter,
accident, wife and daughter. Yeah, this was, I think, back in the 70s.
Yep.
So he put his life back together, found a new woman in his life, new family. So he's probably going to run. But there was an interesting comment, and the comment was that during a speech a couple of days ago, he referenced 23 people. Somebody counted up. He referenced 23 people by name. Only 3, North Korean dictator, his late son Bo, and some reporter from NBC News, were born since 1961. So basically, everybody he mentioned was from the 50s and the 40s. Kind of like when you like to talk about Fred Allen and Jack Benny.
Yeah, Fred Allen, my old friend Fred Allen.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if, with our obsession with this whole millennial business and all the progressives like AOC and Beto O'Rourke and Kamala Harris coming out of nowhere to being on the short list, I wondered if Biden is going to suffer because he's really sort of a creature of the past. He's 76. And when you think about it, I mean, when you or I or Joe Biden
Trump's not far behind him. I mean, Trump is Trump 72 now? Is that right?
I think that's about right.
He's about 72,
but I think Trump,
so he'll be right behind him.
I think Trump's a little better, though, at getting into pop culture and not seeming, like an old fart, as they say. Do you think there's a problem with Biden trying to position himself as, I'm the future, when actually he's kind of pointing to the past in this little informal study they did of, 20 out of 23 people he mentioned were from the 50s and the 40s.
Yeah, that could be a problem. Ageism, I mean, there certainly could be a problem. It might help if he puts maybe...
Put Bernie on the ticket with him, then I'll make him look young.
By the way, Bernie today said he could beat Trump again. Here we go again. Oh, gosh.
Well, you never know. He might be able to.
No. Maybe Beto. Some people saying, well, how about a Biden-Beto ticket,
Oh, I bet Beto, especially coming from a big
Now, one thing Beto
like
O'Rourke did, he announced that he will not run against against, I guess it's John Cornyn.
Interesting.
Who was the other senator beside Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
And I think that race is in about a year or two, if I have that right.
So Beto may be positioning himself for
and
VP.
As soon as he said he's not going to run for that, but he still may run for president.
Because what a plum Texas would be, right? Isn't Texas considered pretty much a red state? It's not purple.
Well, some people could argue, well, it's getting purple, but it's still red because I guess you could say they voted for Cruz. Cruz still won, and so he's still the senator.
So here's how Biden got into trouble this week. He's making a speech about Mike Pence, or he's mentioning Mike Pence, and he calls the guy a decent guy. Calls him Mike Pence is a decent guy. Well, Cynthia Nixon of someone...
Yeah, she ran against Cuomo.
Almost said some like it hot. Sex in the City. I'm thinking about 1958. She said, Joe Biden, you've just called America's most anti-LGBT elected leader a decent guy. When we come back, we're going to talk about whether it was fair and reasonable to go after poor Joe Biden for his comments about the VP.
CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Hey, Lorraine, do you realize that your mother, my mother-in-law, Chef Maria, has been serving Las Vegas since 1949?
Yes, I do, Dennis. That's when she first met Howard Hughes, who fell in love with her cooking.
And in 1955, she opened her first restaurant on Fremont Street.
Yes, dear. And another great customer was Liberace.
Wow. Then in 1962, while Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack were causing global excitement on the Las Vegas Strip, your family opened their second restaurant.
And in 1972, Elvis Presley began electrifying Las Vegas audiences and eating in our restaurants.
You know, Lorraine, this is quite a town. There's only one Las Vegas.
And there's only one Bootlegger Italian Bistro.
Folks, when you're in Las Vegas, come visit us. We'll make you feel like you're part of our family.
The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, conveniently located at 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard, South Strip. Visit our website at www.bootleggerlasvegas.com.
We are the debt destroyer. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt. Call now to get our free report that tells you how to destroy your debt. It's a great resource. Plus, when you make this free call right now, we'll have a debt destroyer expert ready to help you. They can show you how they can help you destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help you slash your debt. Call right now for free information, including our Debt Destroyer Guide, a $300 value, yours free. Call right now.
800-515-6348. 800-515-6348. That's 800-515-6348.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule.
I believe that your company has the answer because I've been through cancer treatment and knowing what it does to the body, and oh my, if that's all that medical science has to offer, there must be a better way, and I think the better way is knowing what to eat and getting it. I do notice that I have less inflammation. I feel like when I'm taking Balance of Nature, I'm getting fruits and vegetables more than what I would ordinarily get. I like when I open up the bottles, you can really smell the fruits and vegetables. I mean, I know I'm getting fruits and vegetables.
When you call, use discount code FLASH, and we'll take 20% off any first preferred order of Balance of Nature and have it shipped to you free. Call 1-800-246-8751. That's 1-800-246-8751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FLASH.
The following ad contains shocking material. Listener discretion is advised. Is someone in your family playing a dangerous game of Russian roulette? Over 43,000 people die a year from drug overdose. 120 people a day. 5 people every hour. 1 person every 12 minutes. 88,000 people die every year from alcohol abuse. Over 240 people a day. 10 an hour. 1 person every 6 minutes. Somebody you know may be next. Learn how to help someone you love get away from the drugs, alcohol, and bad influences. With the FMLA, people can take a leave of absence from their job and still keep it. Call Quit Drugs 321 now at 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315. That's 800-378-3315.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries. So, Vice President, former VP Joe Biden's in hot water, Ken, because he called Mike Pence a decent guy. People were not applauding for Pence in some setting where Biden thought, it really wasn't fair to America and to Pence. And whoa, that stirred things up.
Well, I got to tell you something real quick. I remember when John McCain called Barack Obama a decent man. Remember that during a campaign appearance a couple of years ago?
Did he get into trouble for that?
Yeah, McCain was at a McCain rally, and a woman gets up, and she says, "I think Obama is a Muslim." He's a Muslim. He's an Arab. He's an Arab. And he goes, and McCain said, no, ma'am, he's a decent family man. Remember that? That may have cost McCain some votes.
I'd forgotten that.
That's about it, what, 8 years, whatever it is.
But the interesting postscript is that Biden immediately apologized. He tweets out, you're right, Cynthia Nixon. Said, you just called America's most anti-LGBT elected leader a decent guy. So Biden says, you're right, Cynthia. I was making a point in a foreign policy context that under normal circumstances, a VP shouldn't be given a silent reaction on the world stage. But there's nothing decent about being anti-LGBTQ rights, and that includes the vice president. So he realizes he's going. This is like a prelude for the campaign, because you can't. Can you just imagine it next year? You're going to have all of them lined up: Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, all of the progressives, and then there's Joe. And they're going to be clashing, and I think Joe is going to have to hold them all off. And a good chunk of the Democratic voters in America are going to be saying, we kind of like Liz, or we really like Kamala, but they're going to be stuck with Joe.
There's no middle ground. What is this? There's no middle ground for anything anymore. Seemingly there's nothing.
Right. Well, I think
on the left or on the right, there's no middle. Here we go. What happened to the middle? The middle exploded.
Well, unless the progressives can somehow do what all the non-Trump Republicans couldn't do, and gather their forces and support just one person, how could they beat Joe? Because Joe is sort of a center-left guy. He's going to have a huge number of votes, and all the others are going to splinter, and there's no way they can beat him. And so we could be looking at a Trump-Biden
Bernie says
election.
Bernie says he'll beat Trump. That he will beat him.
He's an optimistic guy.
Yeah, I think so too.
So let's talk Michael Jackson. I know he was a huge favorite of yours, Ken Jeffries. Big HBO.
He was also an
movie.
Optimistic guy. No.
So and a dead guy now.
HBO
tomorrow. I think it's on.
It's on tomorrow.
It's on tomorrow.
Remind me not to watch it.
Well,
are you going to watch this thing?
I don't think I will. But there was a lot of controversy about it. Michael's estate sued to block the program, and what they said was that this is wrong. Back in 1992. HBO signed a contract, and they said they would never say anything negative about Michael. And there's also a clause that says if there's a dispute between HBO and Michael, there will be an arbitration.
Is contract still good? Because AT&T was just bought by HBO was just bought by AT&T.
Well, good question. I think the reason the contract isn't still good is because it was a contract relating to a single concert in 1992 that HBO was going to air of Michael. One concert. And so, yes, in the context of that one concert, HBO promised we won't say anything bad about Michael. At that point, I don't think the stories had exploded. But HBO has responded, and they've said, nice try. You can't stop us from running this documentary. What they did, what Michael's estate did, was just shine a lot of extra publicity on this show that's going to be on tomorrow. But there were some other arguments that Michael Jackson's estate made that were really kind of stupid. One of the arguments was, well, this is an unfair documentary, and so they want it blocked. Well, I didn't realize the subjects of documentaries get to sit in the editing bay while they're being put together. That's not how it works. And also they mentioned, well, Michael is dead, and so he can't give his side of the story. Like you don't see on the History Channel documentaries about Stalin or Hitler, and unless I'm mistaken, they're dead too. So the HBO movie is going to be on tomorrow. It's featuring, I think, 2 alleged victims.
Yeah, and it apparently gets into really some serious heavy-duty stuff, and from what I read, and that's why I think I'm just not going to watch. It's just kind of, fine. We've
all seen the story play out, and obviously Michael was found not guilty by a jury in terms of molestation. Of course, the people who testified against him there had gotten $25 million from him in settlements.
It would have been interesting, I guess, if he was still alive, and how much he would have been thrown under the bus by the Me Too movement. In a way,
No, you're right. That's a good point. So let's go to Virginia, Ken Jeffries, and talk a little more about the trouble of the Virginia governor. Looks like he's going to ride out the storm. Apparently, the polls in Virginia say that...
Well, he's thanking Michael Cohen now for taking him off the front page. You kind of forget about the Virginia governor now. That's so literally last week.
That's right. Well, you know who else he can thank? And I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the show. He can thank his wife, Pam Northam. Because you remember, a few weeks ago, when they were talking about... whether or not the Virginia governor had dressed up like Michael Jackson in a certain context, and why he had blackface on. And what he said was that picture of a guy in blackface is not me, but the reason I thought it was me is because I did do a Michael Jackson impression. And he started to do a moonwalk at the press conference, and his wife said, "Honey, no, stop it." So that was genius. Well, this week she lost her genius status because she has apologized. She was running a field trip, hosting some kids at the governor's mansion. There were these black children in the field trip. And so she said, "I want you to know what it was like to be a slave." So she handed out pieces of cotton to the black children on the field trip, asking them to imagine picking the crop as enslaved Africans.
Did she hand it out to the white children, too? I don't know if she...
I'm not sure about that, but whoever she handed it to, she got a lot of flack for it. Jeez. And she said, "I regret that I have upset anyone. I'm still committed to chronicling the important history of the historic kitchen and want to encourage historians..."
Historic kitchen?
Yeah, that is part of the tour she was giving. So bottom line is she kind of lost her status, I think, as genius as a result of this little incident.
Did she have one in the first place?
I don't know. Well, just because of telling the guy not to do the moonwalk.
Well, right, the moonwalk, right.
So the Jussie Smollett story is still simmering a little bit. And Van Jones of CNN, you're the commentator, he's a pretty prominent guy. He was a little controversial. Not too many people are defending Jussie Smollett, since the evidence seems pretty overwhelming that he was exploiting the fact that he was a black gay man to fake this crime. But Van Jones had a different take, and he said, "This is the fall of an icon. I don't think people are going to understand how important he's been to the black community. Empire is a show. To have him as a beloved character, I think, did a great deal to knock back homophobia in the black community. The fact he's been celebrated, and you see homophobia in the black community through his eyes on the show, this is a Jackie Robinson against homophobia." And people thought, that's probably not a good idea to compare this guy, who is a crook, allegedly, to Jackie Robinson, the pioneer.
No, I think it's kind of weird. What I found interesting, though, is, what's his name? John Phillips from KABC tweeted that he likes if I have this right, that he likes Van Jones personally. Good guy. Mm-hmm. I don't think he agrees with the politics part, but that's...
They couldn't be more opposite. John Phillips is a very conservative guy, and Van Jones is as progressive as they get. But that's interesting. I mean, John's a commentator for CNN, so he probably has bumped into him, and they've gotten to...
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, so he's humanized for John. So speaking of humanizing folks, Kamala Harris has a little bit of work to do. She's tossed her hat in the ring, but she's been saying some stuff that was kind of controversial. There was one quick flip-flop on health care, because can you remember a week or so ago she said, "Let's ban private health insurance. We don't need it. We don't need people saying no to you." And then she tried to walk it back, and maybe she's not going to completely ban it. So now she's in a little bit of trouble because people are pointing out she's flip-flopped on prostitution. She's come out for legalized prostitution. She thinks it should be decriminalized.
I guess did she mention taxing it and so on? I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, usually when people say let's decriminalize it as opposed to pure legalization, what they're saying is it's not going to be a crime, but we are going to regulate it, we're going to tax it. But people, of course, have dredged up the fact that when she was Attorney General of the state of California for several years, she absolutely opposed the idea of decriminalizing prostitution. She even called it, back in 2008, completely ridiculous. She argued it would put a welcome mat out for pimps and prostitutes. She rejected the notion that prostitution was a victimless crime. But now she comes out and she says, I support decriminalizing prostitution. It is a victimless crime. She said, quote, when you're talking about consensual adults, I think, yes, we should really consider that we can't criminalize consensual behavior as long as no one is being harmed.
Well, was she evolving? Is that...
I guess that's what people say. I mean, if people change on the abortion issue. I mean, certainly Donald Trump has flip-flopped in many ways, but of course he has not been a professional politician for decades. But, I mean, look at Barack Obama. He absolutely took a strong stand against gay marriage,
right?
For years and years, when he was in the state Senate in Illinois, when he was in the U.S. Senate from Illinois, when he was running for president and as president, it was all I'm against gay marriage. Why is that? Because he knew, now I don't know what he personally believed, but he knew it would be really bad for his career if at that point he came out in favor of gay marriage. But then later on, he changed his tune. So I don't know if she's going to be seen as uniquely hypocritical here, but I think it's an example of somebody who has not been on the political scene for decades, and although certainly even guys like Joe Biden who have been on the scene, he puts his foot in his mouth regularly, and arguably did again this week with the comment about Mike Pence. I think this could sort of dog Kamala Harris, and of course it's it's kind of similar to the marijuana issue.
We still have a ways to go yet.
Oh yeah, she has time to make many more mistakes before the election.
I set that up for you, didn't I?
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'll do the setups and you do the punchlines. Okay.
But I mean, the other angle is her dad. She's got this feud with her dad. I mean, you remember Jimmy Carter's brother, Billy Carter? He was an alcoholic and he sold Billy beer.
Used to pee in all sorts of weird places.
Where he shouldn't. That's right. It's only appropriate to pee in certain spots on the planet, and he broke that rule. He also was an agent for the government of Libya, and he promised them all sorts of juicy stuff. So now we've got Kamala Harris, and her dad, Donald Harris, is really angry because what she said was, when people asked, well, what do you think about marijuana? And, have you smoked marijuana? She cited her ethnicity. She said to the reporter, half my family's from Jamaica. Are you kidding me? Of course I inhaled. And her dad, Donald, called these remarks a travesty and accused her of stereotyping. He said, my dear departed grandmother, as well as my deceased parents, must be turning in their grave right now to see their family's name, reputation, and proud Jamaican identity being connected in any way, jokingly or not, with the fraudulent stereotype of a pot-smoking joy seeker and in the pursuit of identity politics. He may be a Trump voter, with a comment like that. And the record will reflect, Ken, I did not even attempt a Jamaican accent when I was quoting.
That's right, you did not.
I just read it totally straight.
There was a brouhaha about when she inhaled, she listened to who was it? Tupac Shakur.
Yes.
And who didn't
she
have
kind of
an album
fudged
out
about
at the time.
but we gave her a pass on that, I suppose. But no, I think she's going to run into a few problems with family stuff and just not making gaffes on the campaign trail. So next, let's talk about one of your favorite topics, and that's the play The Vagina Monologues. How many times have you seen The Vagina Monologues, Ken?
I don't think I've seen it.
I haven't either.
I got to tell you something. Can I tell you
Matt,
something?
are you a fan? No.
Can I tell you one thing, though?
Sure, you can tell me two things.
I remember, I think on KFWB, when it was a news station, we did carry ads for a while for the male version called Puppetry of the Penis. and seriously, and I think finally...
But that swept Broadway.
Yeah, and that's
so here's the deal. There's this play called The Vagina Monologues. I have not seen it. Neither have you.
It's a woman named Eve Ensler, I think, now that I pull it out
she's the playwright.
The playwright. So it's kind of it's known. I mean, it's been around the play itself has been around for a very long time.
So it explores sexual experiences, body image, direct and indirect encounters with reproduction, sex work, and several other topics through the eyes of women with various ages, races, sexualities, and differences. Okay, so it's popular. So that's not the story. The story is politically correct people in St. Louis have changed the name of the Vagina Monologues, and they're calling it instead the Blank Monologues. Would you like to guess as to why they're calling it the Blank Monologues?
Just the word blank?
Yeah, the word blank, yeah. And
because they don't want to say...
I'm going to give you a hint. It has nothing to do with them being squeamish about saying this anatomical word or having that associated.
Then, okay, I'll take a gander at it. Why?
Well, the reason is they think they want to be more inclusive of other people and other body parts.
What?
And to be more specific, they note that in this era of recognizing transgender rights, there could be born men, who decide that they want to live life as a woman and want to identify as a woman, and then they are in the world as women.
So what do they call it then? They call it the
Blank Monologues.
The Blank They just call it the Blank.
They just call it the Blank Monologues. So the idea is that if a man identifies as a woman, but he doesn't have all the physical attributes of most women, like the anatomical part mentioned in the Vagina Monologues, he will feel excluded. He will feel as if he can't get the full benefit of the play. I don't know. Do we really think that this problem of a transgender now.
So
woman.
what do they do? Do they have to then go into did Eve Ensler, is she still alive? I mean, I don't know. Can she sue? Seriously, is there a legal thing you can't? That's the title of a play. You can't change the title of the play. Unless they put it on a double bill with the aforementioned puppetry of the penis.
Well, it's a good question, and actually it's related to the question of the killing of a what's the name of the play? Mockingbird. To
Kill a Mockingbird?
To Kill a Mockingbird. Okay. So Gregory Peck, classic role, and
Atticus Finch.
Atticus Finch, famous play. They are trying to put it on around the country, and they've been shut down by the lawyers for To Kill a Mockingbird because the lawyers quote a portion of the agreement that people have signed when they say we're going to put this play on, and it says you may not put on To Kill a Mockingbird if there is a new revival of To Kill a Mockingbird. Because the people in Milwaukee who put it on would be siphoning money away from the folks in New York who are putting on a revival.
Maybe there'll be a copyright thing or something like that? Or?
Yeah, exactly right. So we've solved the problem of the vagina monologues, but we haven't solved the problem of men deciding they want to identify as women and competing as professional athletes. And we know it happened with respect to Renee Richards years ago when he became a woman and he was a really good tennis player and he then started to compete as a professional on the women's circuit and he started winning all sorts of trophies. So Martina Navratilova, the famous female tennis star, has a very strong opinion about whether former men, now women, should be able to compete on the circuit. We'll get into it.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule.
I was singing in the shower, singing El Solo Mio. Oh, Solo Mio. As I was singing Mio, I sneezed. So I'm drying up, and I sneeze again. And I blow my nose. A whole bunch of stuff comes out. I'm suddenly realizing that I am breathing out of my nose the best I've ever breathed out of my nose in years. I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden now I'm breathing. What has happened in the past year? I'm a talented agent. Little by little every day, if I experience it, I'm happy. I'm sure this has to do with balance of nature. I'm sure it does.
When you call, use discount code FLASH, and we'll take 20% off any first preferred order of Balance of Nature and have it shipped to you free. Call 1-800-246-8751. That's 1-800-246-8751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FLASH.
The following ad contains shocking material. Listener discretion is advised. Is someone in your family playing a dangerous game of Russian roulette? Over 43,000 people die a year from drug overdose. 120 people a day. 5 people every hour. 1 person every 12 minutes. 88,000 people die every year from alcohol abuse. Over 240 people a day. 10 an hour. 1 person every 6 minutes. Somebody you know may be next. Learn how to help someone you love get away from the drugs, alcohol, and bad influences. With the FMLA, people can take a leave of absence from their job and still keep it. Call Quit Drugs 321 now at 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315. That's 800-378-3315.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. They want your money, and guess what? They can legally take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you. So what do? Fight back by letting our team of experts at the Tax Helpline work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws and will fight to save your money. So if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket.
800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. That's 800-932-1597.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries. Okay, second candidate for Moron of the Week. To remind you, our first candidate is the guy over in Berlin, Germany, who was shot by his dog. He left his rifle there in the car, and the dog, clever guy, shot him. Here's our second candidate, kind of similar. Police say a bulletproof vest saved a cop running away from a suspected rabid fox in New York. 24-year-old officer Harold Nunervo struck responding to a report about a fox in the village. The animal charged at the officer. I didn't know rabid foxes charged at people, but apparently they do. He tried to jump over a fence, but his foot got caught, flipped over, his gun went off, and shot him in the chest.
With a quick round, it's like the old typing test. A quick brown fox jumped over only the guy did instead of the fox.
And then shot him, yeah. So what do you think? Who is the moron of the week, Ken? Would it be the guy whose dog shot him in his truck, or the guy who tried to escape a rabid fox and shot himself?
But he had a vest on, too. That's kind of weird. I guess the second guy. I mean, that's like,
Me too, yeah. I think the rabid fox escapee gets the prize. Hey, we started to talk about Martina Navratilova. She's in a little hot water. She was the big tennis star. She doesn't like the idea of guys saying, hey, I identify as a woman. I'm a pretty good tennis player. I'm going to play professionally against women. She says you can't just proclaim yourself a female and compete against women. There must be standards, and having a penis...
The old joke was the East Germans did it all the time,
That's right.
In the Olympics.
So she says having a penis and competing as a woman would not fit that standard. All right, Ken Jeffries, you've just been made Emperor of the Universe. You get to decide. Do guys who turn into women get to compete in professional women's tennis tournaments or not?
Well, what they do, they can create a third league. Men's, women's. Seriously, why not?
I guess. They might get better ratings. I don't know.
Is it fair? I don't. What about? I was going to say women who become men. Is that?
Yeah.
Because but usually that's not the case. Usually,
you never know. That could be embarrassing for the man. It's hard to say.
I guess they can do it, but I kind of agree with her.
We'll call it a tough metaphysical question.
Yeah.
In case you've run out of things to worry about, Ken Jeffries, I want to add one more thing you can worry about. Sex robots, we are told, if hacked, can be programmed to kill you. Is that something that you're going to start worrying about?
No, but it reminds me of when the praying mantis, after they have sex, the woman eats the man.
Yeah, but that's in the praying mantis
the woman
world.
Praying mantis eats the man.
But we're talking Homo sapiens here. So here's the story. As a report out of Melbourne University. A cybersecurity lecturer has done a study here. He says sex robots could be hijacked by hackers and used to cause harm or even kill people.
They probably could.
Yeah,
they probably could.
You've got internet-connected robots, and you've got people calling on governments to ban weaponized robots. You see, I didn't know this was a thing. Now it's very worrisome.
Well, what about self-driving cars? They can probably be programmed to kill you.
Yeah, people have worried about that. Your self-driving car will go into the East River, and there you're dead. Hackers can hack into a robot, he says, or a robotic device and have full control of the connections, arms, legs, and other attached tools, in some cases knives or welding devices. I don't know. Why would you go to a sex robot that is equipped with a knife or a welding device?
If you're into that kind of thing, maybe.
I don't get it. It says once a robot is hacked, the hacker has full control and can issue instructions to the robot. The last thing you want is for a hacker to have control over one of these robots. I disagree with that. That's not the last thing I want. The last thing I want is for the sun to explode and everybody to turn into an ash. So that would be the last.
I kind of agree with that. Actually.
Yeah. So I would not agree with him, but still, it seems like it's a pretty remote thing to worry about.
Remote?
Yeah,
working from remote.
Kind of.
Okay, got it.
So our last story, Ken, to go out on a high note. A man has been accused of dipping his testicles in a customer's salsa.
I heard that.
Tennessee man jailed on felony charges after dipping his testicles into a container of salsa that the customer had ordered online. I don't get it. He was complaining about an 89-cent tip.
Yeah, it was extra spicy, I guess.
I suppose so. Nothing but good news. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the Royal Oak Show.